Hey guys, I really wanted to make this video. It combines two of my favorite things in life, food and Harry Potter. So today I decided to recreate some of the foods from the wizarding world and make them vegan. Most of these recipes are definitely not the healthiest things I've ever made, so keep that in mind. They're your treats. Healthier stuff is coming in future videos. Also, since these are my adaptations of the recipes, they're probably not authentically British either. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. And now let's get right into it. One of the most common beverages in the series is pumpkin juice. They seem to drink that all the time. Quick question, is pumpkin juice a British thing or is it a Harry Potter thing? First, we'll need pumpkin puree or roasted pumpkin. I'm going with the latter because they don't sell canned pumpkin where I live, which is frustrating. Grab a small to medium-sized Hokkaido pumpkin. Cut it in half. Take out the seeds and place it on a baking sheet that's lined with parchment paper. This goes into the preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius for 45 minutes to an hour depending on the size of your pumpkin. Once the time is up, make sure to let it cool off a bit before removing the skin. Now onto the actual juice recipe. Add some of the roasted pumpkin or canned pumpkin to your blender, along with fresh lemon juice, apple juice, vanilla, cinnamon, a tiny bit of nutmeg, and water. For extra sweetness, some dates that have been soaking in water for at least 15 minutes. Blend it all up. Now you can either serve this cold with ice if you want, or warm it up in a small pot on medium-high for a few minutes. I don't know if the wizard people drink it warm or cold. Let me know if you know. For this next recipe, we're making Hagrid's rock cakes. They are spiced cookies filled with dried fruits that are crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. Hagrid's version being crispy on both sides. For example, Harry tried one of Hagrid's cakes and quickly put it down after an ominous cracking noise from one of his back teeth. First, mix together all of the dry ingredients. Spelt flour, baking powder, baking soda, cinnamon, and nutmeg. In a separate bowl, we're going to cream together vegan butter and raw sugar. Use a whisk or a hand mixer like this one to do it. Next up, we'll need a can of chickpeas. So the chickpea water, it sounds gross, but it works. It should be about a half a cup of liquid. Add that to the butter sugar mixture, plus a half a teaspoon of lemon zest. Combine dry and wet ingredients. Fold in the dried fruit, aka raisins in my case. And this goes into the fridge for 30 minutes to an hour. Right before that time is up, preheat your oven and line a baking sheet with parchment paper. Measure out a heaping tablespoon of dough for each cookie, using either an ice cream scoop or 2 tablespoons. Give the cookies a bit of space in between. Don't press them down since they're gonna spread a bit. Bake them for 15 to 20 minutes. And then they come out looking like this. They are super yummy, and like I said, this is not exactly the traditional British recipe. Moving on, the only savory recipe in this video, Cho Chang's favorite snack, pumpkin pasties. First, either make or buy some pie crust. Since I am limited to my German grocery stores, I had to make it myself. The only thing kind of similar I could find is store-bought puff pastry, so that could be another option. To make the pastry, mix together spelt flour and salt in a bowl. Also add a tablespoon of raw sugar. Now the key ingredient is going to be cold vegan butter. Emphasis on cold. Cut the butter into little cubes and distribute it throughout the batter using a fork or a pastry cutter if you have one of those. I then switch to my hands because that makes it easier. You basically want little specks of butter floating through the flour mixture, but you don't want the butter to melt. Mix in cold plant milk, 1 tablespoon at a time. Dump the mixture onto your counter, get your hands in there, and form everything into a ball of dough. You can also make it the night before and make the filling the next day. I guess you can also freeze this and just make the filling whenever. Cut 1 to 2 onions into onion rings. As always, fry them off with a bit of oil or water. Even though there's so much butter in this recipe, I don't think it matters anymore. Next up, add some roasted or canned pumpkin, salt, dried thyme, lemon zest, and lemon juice. Now take out the ball of pastry dough. Using your hands, warm up the dough a bit so you can work with it more easily. Then take out a rolling pin and roll it out until it's quite thin, about like 3 to 5 millimeters of thickness. You don't have to be super precise. Then cut out little circles using a glass.
I don't say what's on my mind quite as much as you'd like me to. I've been hearing that my whole life, I promise it's not just you.
Yeah, and that's it. I ended up rolling them out a bit more because I wanted them to be bigger. And then I added 1 to 2 teaspoons of filling for each pastry. Fold it over like this and close it off with a fork. I overfilled most of these, but that's okay actually. Brush the pastries with a bit of non-dairy milk. Poke a few holes in. And then put them into the oven for 15 to 20 minutes until golden brown. And that's it. They're really good. My siblings said that these taste like pumpkin pizza.
I don't say what's on my mind quite as much as you'd like me to. Yeah. And often when I'm quiet, you worry I'm hiding from you. And I know I keep a lie to myself, but still
Remember when Hermione filled little chocolate cakes with a sleeping potion and fed them to Malfoy's bodyguards so Harry and Ron could pretend to be them? Well, I wanted to recreate these. No, they don't have sleeping pills in them. I added lavender, because lavender makes you sleepy. Also, I just realized that these are brown cakes with lavender, so lavender brown cakes. Get it? As always, combine the dry ingredients first. In a separate bowl, mix together melted vegan butter or coconut oil, raw sugar, and a cup of strong brewed lavender tea. Combine both parts, wet and dry. Fold in some dark chocolate chunks and divide the batter evenly among 10 muffin molds. Or put some of the batter into a tiny cake pan like this one. Bake everything for 20 to 22 minutes. Let it cool off for at least 30 minutes before adding the glaze. For this, I just melted some dark vegan chocolate, and here is where you could add a few drops of lavender essential oil. And that's it for the cakes. On to the last and final recipe, vegan butterbeer. There are so many different ways online on how to make butterbeer. I don't know if J.K. Rowling wrote about the actual recipe anywhere, so if you know, you can leave a comment. A big part of butterbeer is butterscotch. We're going to be using a caramel sauce instead. So either use store-bought vegan caramel sauce. There's one by the brand Alnatura, which works great. But if you want to make it yourself, grab a small saucepan and add brown sugar or raw sugar, plus 2 tablespoons of water. Have the heat on medium and let the sugar melt down slightly for a few minutes while stirring. Then turn the heat to low, add vegan butter, salt, and vegan creamer. Mix it in until the sugar has melted. Then transfer everything to a jar to store, and if left in the fridge, this should harden. If left outside on the counter, it'll have this caramel sauce consistency. To make 2 glasses of butterbeer, mix together 2 tablespoons of the caramel sauce, a cup of non-dairy milk, and here's where you can make some variations. Either add a cup of apple juice, a cup of apple cider, or a cup of malt beer, which is non-alcoholic, and I don't know if you can get this in other countries. Only add the malt beer if you genuinely like the flavor of it. I personally actually prefer it with just apple juice. Lastly, add a bit more of the vegan creamer, and that is it. I wanted to go all the way with this, so I made some vegan whipped cream. I finished everything off with cinnamon.
I've been hearing that my whole life, I promise it's not just you. But I so confidently want you that when you say.
And that's it for the Harry Potter themed recipes. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's not my usual thing to do, but I thought it would be fun. So let me know what you think of this in the comments. If you recreate any of these recipes, then post them on Instagram. I want to see what you guys are making. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon. Bye!
I don't say what's on my mind quite as much as you